Hi, welcome back to the Backpacker Coach. Today I have another special episode of Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon, the girls missing from Panama. So in my last video, I went over a few things talking about the 72 DPI photos and how they should have not been set at 72 DPI. We're going to go over a couple interesting camera settings and that kind of fun stuff. So let's get into that. Sit back and enjoy kind of a camera tutorial today. So when I posted my other video, the first comments that I got were very interesting. They were very much saying that you cannot get a large image off the internet, that everybody only sets everything up at 72 DPI, and that is it. You're stupid, dumb, I'm ridiculous. Everybody knows it can only be 72 DPI. So now let me show you something. I got this off of the internet, and it is full size. So where did I go? I went to this website here where somebody went through and they talked about the camera, about the specific camera, and they also set up an area where they show the small pictures, but then you can also download the full-size pictures. So we can go to any one of these, then as a full size, and then we can do save image as. I can put it right here and open up Photoshop. And we'll go to this here. And look, it's 4,000 by 3,000 and it's 180 resolution. So is it impossible? No. It is possible to be able to have it on a server just like this and have it sit there, and you could download the entire large image, no problem. So that's what I'm saying. It's possible. Did they do that? No. But it is possible to do that. Obviously, because people do it all the time. You can see it's very possible to be able to have a small image on a website and then be able to download that image full size. It's totally possible. It is not impossible to do. So I wanted to go over these three different pictures with you. I want to go over this one, and this one. There's a lot of interesting little tiny things that are going on with these pictures, so I kind of want to go over them. It's not that they are anything gigantic, huge problems, but there's lots of little tiny interesting things that are kind of going on with these pictures. It's not that they're good, it's not that they're bad, but it's some interesting things that I thought I should mention, and we're going to go over all kinds of interesting little things. So first I wanted to go over is something that's kind of interesting. These three pictures, this one, you can see it was actually saved as a PNG file. This one's saved as a PNG file. And this one's saved as a JPEG file. So that's the first thing I just wanted to mention, that those two are PNG files. That's not something that, a camera obviously creates, so somebody had to convert those to PNG. So just keep that in mind. Know that that is what they did. So now the next thing is this picture here. This one, far as I can tell, for size-wise, is the correct ratio for an actual photograph. That is, even if it was starting out at 4,000 to 3,000 or reduced down, it's pretty close. But I want to show you that it's not exactly perfect. And that's what's kind of interesting. And then this next picture, you can see is longer than this one, but just by a little bit. And then there's the third picture, this one. And that one is actually a different ratio. And I found out that that ratio is actually 3:2, which happens to be supposed to be an old 35 millimeter equivalent. So that's interesting. And there's one other little problem with this as well, but we'll go over that as we go through these. So first, let's go over this picture here in respect of its ratio. All right. I took this image with my point and shoot camera. This camera that I have, it also takes images that are 4,000 by 3,000 pixels. And I just wanted to show you what's going on here. This number here is the number that other picture was that I just showed you, the picture of Lisanne and Kris. Now, if we type in this number, 1335, this is the actual ratio, what it should be reduced down to. And you'll notice the height, it says, is 101, and yet it's 105. So it's slightly off by, just a couple of pixels, but it is off. Why that is, I don't know. Just kind of interesting just to know that it is not perfectly reduced. It's slightly off. All right, now let's go back. Now there's this one. This picture, like I was saying, is a different ratio. It's the 3:2 ratio, is set up to be equivalent to a 35mm camera. So if we look at this one, and this is what the pixels were on that image. There's 1508 by 105. So we're going to reduce my picture again to that. And you can see this is the full size image. And we're going to take this number, 1508, is off by 1 pixel, which is interesting. Another bizarre little thing. Who knows why it's 1 pixel shorter, but it is. So we have that interesting thing. And then lastly is this image. And this one is probably the strangest of them all in the respect of the ratio, where you can see this width is that far off. That's kind of weird. That's the oddest of them all. And I'm not going to give you dimensions on that because you can see that and we know that this one's only off by a pixel or two. So that's that. Another little odd thing there. So I thought I'd show you the user's guide to the camera that was found in the backpack. There's a couple just fun, interesting things to learn and understand here. There are 4 different ratios that you can choose. So here they are. There's 16:9, 3:2, 4:3, and 1:1. So to explain what those are, you can see the different ones. 16:9 is used for, I more or less call it video. That's so you can put it into the video and you don't have to crop anything. 3:2, which I didn't realize is actually a 35mm equivalent, which is kind of interesting. And then 4:3, which is your normal standard taking pictures ratio, which is the 4,000 by 3,000. And then there's 1:1, which is square. So we all know what square is. Then over here, you have the different sizes of what you can make the pictures. So you have 4 different sizes, which is large, M1, M2, and S. And those are the different sizes that Canon has made for these cameras. So what I was going to show you is what these different sizes look like. We'll kind of just go over those. So this is the large, and if we click into the picture here, you can see we can click in a long ways before it starts turning into pixels. We can get very close to the pictures, to this picture. And then M1, still, it's pretty decent. You can still get in pretty far. M2, you can start to see it's kind of pixely even before you get to the pixels there. And then S, which is really, really small. And I'll show you the sizes in a minute. But you can see how it's really, really pixely. It's tiny. So I'll show you the picture sizes. So large, you can see, is 4000 by 3000 pixels. The M1 is 2816 by 2112. M2 is 1600 by 1200. And S is very tiny at 640 by 480, which is pretty much useless. Why anybody would even shoot anything that size is beyond me. But that is that size. So I wanted to show you the different aspect ratios. This is the 4:3 aspect ratio, what most people usually take now for digital images. And then there's 3:2. For some reason they decided to give you a 3:2 image, which is interesting. And there's the 16:9, which is used to be able to be comparable to when you video. The one thing that I wanted to mention was that if you look at the sizes, it's 4000 by the 2066.4, and then of course 4000 by 3000, and of course 4000 by 2248. You notice that the length is all the same, it's the height that changes. So that's something else just to kind of keep in mind when you're looking at all these pictures, that this one, if they would come out of the camera the same, they would all be the same width and then a different height. But they just, whoever changed the photo, when they photoshopped it to the different size, they decided to make it the same height, and then just for whatever reason. Not that that's bad, not that that really proves anything, other than they just changed, they decided to make it that height of the rest of them, which makes it just slightly larger. That's okay. That's just the way whoever decided to do it, that's just the way it is. Just keep that in mind. But that is the interesting thing, that this image is the 3:2 ratio, which is kind of odd that that is the only image that is 3:2. There's no real reason. Why would they switch the ratio just for one picture to 3:2? That doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm not sure why this one image is that ratio when all the other images are at least the 4000 by 3000 ratio, and then you got this one oddball. So I don't know. That's just kind of interesting. Just one more interesting piece of the puzzle, I guess. So the discussion ensued, were any of these images that we have here, were they deliberately sized from the camera and then that was it? And I don't believe so, because if you look at these sizes, you have 4000 by 3000, 2816 by 2112, 1600 by 1200, and you have 640 by 480. If you look at any of these pictures, none of these pictures are any of those sizes. Exactly. None of them. They're all kind of random sizes. So we know pretty much, you can say that these photos are not just taken from the camera and compressed and that is it. That is not the case. So at least we can say that they were taken off the camera and resized different sizes. That we can be pretty sure of just by knowing what the camera is able to put out as opposed to what we have here. All of these pictures, we know that most of the ratios are correct, but they're oddball sizes. They don't really correlate with what I showed you earlier with the sizes of what that camera actually can actually create. So we know that whoever leaked all these pictures, they just resized them to whatever they wanted to for whatever reason. So that's all I wanted to show you guys. I think that is what's the most important thing to keep in mind here, is that they're just resized images, and we also know that they're highly compressed images. They're not just taken from the camera and resized. They also severely compressed these images. Why they did, there's no real reason for having to highly compress an image like that. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time out there.